quick search for ulu on Amazon brings up dozens of knives which say they're the real
A
thing.
traditional tool used by Indigenous tribes for thousands of years.
But Bernice Kutu-Clark thinks otherwise.
Me gifting my daughter an ulu comes from my spirit, my heart, and my people.
The imitation of Inuit art and artifacts for profit is happening far too often for her liking. She wrote to that company behind that Batman ulu. The response she got was frosty, and things like copyright and patents just don't work with Indigenous customs. That's according to George Nicholas, an expert who led an 8-year project on cultural appropriation.
They are usually designed to protect the intellectual property of an individual or a company or corporation. Indigenous heritage falls outside of that realm.
The World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, wants to change that. In May, it adopted a treaty to protect traditional knowledge associated with genetic resources. For example, companies making cosmetics with indigenous plants must disclose the country or community that knowledge comes from. But that took 25 years, and Canada, among other countries, are still reviewing it before deciding whether to sign it by next year's deadline. Discussions about other traditional knowledge, which would cover things like ulu and art, is coming up in November, but that might not be so straightforward.
Knowledge and culture are always evolving. They are being shared between communities.
Until then, Nunavut MP Laurie Edlout wants to see punishments for those who imitate Inuit artefacts and the profits to be returned to Indigenous people.
It's one thing to be inspired, but it's another thing to sell products that are from Indigenous peoples.
And that distinction is a fine line. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.